Well, I mean, what I view this as is he's asking Donald Trump to support his efforts to take over Ukraine politically when Putin has failed militarily, and of course the proposal that Putin has put out there is an unreasonable proposal. It shouldn't even be considered for a second. But apparently, at least as of this minute, Donald Trump seems to be considering it.
Also, despite Putin's proposal, Kremlin is not ready to also give back occupied territories of Ukraine in Kherson and Zaporizhzhia region. According to the Washington Post, there were some discussions about the possibility whether Russia is ready also to give Ukraine back some occupied territories. What is your take on that? And did Mr. Witkov misunderstood Vladimir Putin? There also were some reports about the possibility of that.
Well, I don't know whether he's understood or misunderstood. What I can say is that I know how conflicts between Russia and their enemies work, and Russians, when they're in conflict, don't ever back down. They don't ever make compromises. They don't ever say, I'll give you a little bit of this if you take a little bit of that, and so on and so forth. This is all or nothing for Putin. That's how conflicts work. And so I can say with 100% certainty that Putin has no intention of giving anything back. His whole point is to say, okay, we can have a fake peace agreement. We get to formalize everything we've accomplished so far, and then we can, like in Minsk I or Minsk II, we can then relaunch the war within a few days afterwards and continue on with our campaign of murder and destruction.
Do you expect any kind of progress or any kind of a deal or even a bad deal as a result of this upcoming summit between Trump and Putin?
Well, what I expect is that Putin is going to put out some conditions that are unreasonable. I don't know what Trump's response to those conditions will be, but if he responds positively to those conditions, it doesn't mean anything because at this point, he can't force Ukraine to give up territory. I know that the governments of the European Union don't agree that Ukraine should give up territory. And I also know that the United States, since Donald Trump became president, has stopped funding military efforts in Ukraine. And so he no longer has the leverage to say, I'm going to stop providing military aid. And so it's not going to lead to anything. It's not going to lead to any type of outcome. And that's the intention. That's what Putin wants. Putin doesn't want a deal. He doesn't want peace. What Putin wants is to carry on with his war, but he wants to carry on with his war in a way that Donald Trump doesn't look bad in failing to stop him from carrying on this war. And the easiest way to do that is to put Ukraine in the position to say, we can't do that deal. And then all of a sudden he's saying, well, Putin's ready to do a deal, but Ukraine's not ready to do a deal. It's not my fault that there's no peace. It's Ukraine's fault. That's what he wants to do.
Don't you think that Putin could offer a partial ceasefire in the air just to appease Donald Trump and to have Donald Trump's green light to continue ground war against Ukraine?
Well, that would be an unreasonable suggestion as well, because the main way in which Ukraine defends themselves from a ground war is by using drones. Drones to attack the invaders and drones to attack various other parts of the Russian establishment. And so for Russia to say we're not going to do any more missiles and therefore Ukraine can't, then Russia could just run across the border without any interference. And I don't know how that is a solution to anything.
What are the risks that the US will present Ukraine with such type of a deal, take it or leave it deal, as a result of this summit?
Well, I don't know. It's impossible to predict. This could be a negotiating tactic of Trump's. Remember, Trump was saying all sorts of very aggressive things towards Putin last week. He was talking about all sorts of secondary sanctions and tariffs. Now he's talking about a summit in Alaska, and he could be talking about something else next week. We have no idea. He may not even know what his intentions are until he gets to this meeting.
You just mentioned about Alaska. What is your assessment of this option for a meeting, this location?
Well, I think there's all sorts of interesting analysis of this choice. I mean, the first is that Putin is probably too afraid to fly to most places because Ukraine could probably shoot down his plane if he was in the Middle East or some other place. But flying to Alaska, he doesn't run that risk. And then, of course, he doesn't have to fly over any countries that are members of the International Criminal Court. United States is not a member. Russia is not a member. It's only 3 miles from Russia to Alaska. And third, of course, here he is, an isolated war criminal or accused war criminal who's been totally ostracized by the world. And now he's allowed to have a summit with the most powerful man in the free world in the United States. That's quite a remarkable achievement, I would say. And so I think from Putin's perspective, it's a safer place to go from a being shot down standpoint. It's a safer place to go from a legal standpoint. And he achieves some political success by going from sanctions 1 week to a summit the next week.
Also, according to the various US news networks, the meeting between President Trump and President Zelensky could occur only after the summit between Trump and Putin. What is your take on that?
Well, at the moment, there are 2 countries at war, Russia and Ukraine. I don't know how you have a peace negotiation if one of the parties of the war is not present. It doesn't make any sense. And so I think we've been in this boat before. If you remember, after that horrifying meeting at the White House with Trump, J.D. Vance, and Zelensky, then there was a meeting with Putin, or a telephone call with Putin and Trump. Not with Putin, Zelensky, and Trump, with Putin and Trump. And then there was a meeting with the United States delegation and the Russian delegation, not the 3. And so I think that this is all part of that same thing. I think we can see the true colors of Donald Trump in relation to Ukraine, and it's I would call it a very indecent situation as far as Ukraine is concerned.
Can you imagine a scenario in which Vladimir Putin meets President Zelensky personally?
I can't imagine that scenario for the simple reason that Putin has no intention of having a ceasefire. He's just going through the motions of having this summit with Trump in order to shift the blame when the war is not resolved. That's what he's doing. It's just very simple.